increase quality and effectiveness. The team inspects how the last sprint went with regards to individuals, interactions, processes, tools, and their definition of done. Inspected elements often vary with the domain of work. Assumptions that led them astray are identified and their origins explored. The team discusses what went well during the sprint, what problems it encountered, and how those problems were or were not solved. The team identifies the most helpful changes to improve its effectiveness. The most impactful improvements are addressed as soon as possible. They may be even added to the sprint backlog for the next sprint. Yep, and so you can link to the Figma board for the retrospective process.
Cool, thanks. Okay, let me just switch screen. For anyone who may not have the board at hand, I dropped the link in the voice channel chat. So I see someone there. Let's wait a second for the rest to join as well. And then we can formally start. Okay, I think that's almost everyone. We are, how many we are here in the call? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 5 there. Okay, there's someone left, but we can still get started with the praise part, which isn't in the Figma. Anyways, I'll hold it 10 minutes to the gratitude or praise part. As always, we just go ahead to the praise channel and start dishing praise for the things and people we're grateful for. And that starts now. We have just about 2 minutes left. Okay, so we're done. Let me just quickly check if there's anyone writing. Um, okay, seems like that was the last one, I think. All right, let's go to the next section. Um, anyways, praise is always there. So if anyone um feels like they left anything out or whatever, just um, I think we should try to really incorporate praise back into a habit, and that's why we're doing it on the retrospective. But being a habit also means that we are free to do it at any second, anytime, whenever we feel like it. Okay. Now with the retrospective, so everyone here knows, but I was repeated. First question: what should we continue? What's going well? What we like? Remembering that we are talking about processes and how we work together, and not so much about the deliverables of the actual result of the work. There's 10 minutes first to fill in the question, and then about 5 minutes of just discussions, and that starts now. Looks like people have stopped writing. We have about 1 minute left. If I don't see any new movement, I'll probably um, uh, close the timer just a bit earlier. Okay, cool. So we're done with this part. Now we're going to take about 5 minutes of discussion. And for this time, let's try to focus, or not focus, but let's try to, if we find an action within our feedback, let's try to really articulate that so that to see if we can end up with actionable items. And if you feel like you can own that as well, just let me know and I can put it down here, note it down, and then pass it on to the project board. Um, Maybe you want to go first, Tom, on this one? I'll start the timer now.
Sure, I'm still reading through them, but I'm still reading through all of them. But what I could say is, personally, this sprint there was a real breakthrough over, a priority of focusing on the TEC. And so I feel like that alleviated a lot of stress that feels like just treading water for too long. And I think it's cool that Coordinate seems to be working so well. That was something I had a question about. So it's nice to see on this retrospective board that somebody thinks it's a really cool way to reward ourselves. And then I just want to point out that 2 of the recently funded TE research projects, the TEC stakeholder and the Bonding Curve Research Group, are starting to deliver some really interesting results and insights, which I think is, one of the main reasons that the TEC was created, to support this kind of work. And then I guess what did I write? I don't know. Here's where I wrote it. It feels like there is a general sense of momentum in this team. And things don't feel like stagnant or stuck or blocked. And then maybe still there's some clarity forming around the purpose and direction. And I think once these are more, crystal clear, that the momentum is going to be very useful. The sort of the way the team is starting to work together, I think, is going to be very useful to achieving goals. And I'll pass to you, Bear. If you are near your mute button.
Yeah. Thank you, Tam. Sorry, I'm a bit distracted, but yeah, just reading through all of the notes, I definitely agree that there's this feeling of momentum and progress happening, not just within the team, but within the TEC, with the different initiatives moving forward in parallel. I think that's a pretty good sign of that there's been certain coordination happening. So I think that's good, and that's also being reflected in Twitter and in the forum, and with more people reaching out, and it seems that there's a more involvement. So that's always exciting. And yeah, for now, I think I'll just leave it at that, and I'll pass it on to Joseph.
Just reading. I think looking at what you call it, July's Twitter stats, even though we didn't tweet as much, we're definitely getting more traction with regards to the tweets that we're actually tweeting out. I went into a bit more detail in the comms report, but yeah, so I definitely think that's kind of working well. And with regards to just the team, how the sprints are starting to more like take shape now. I'm liking seeing the progress in which the team is actually getting stuff done. I'll pass it on to Nate.
Yeah, thanks, Joseph. Yeah, I think just kind of generally our approach to communications is this collective approach has been really beneficial, and I think it's paying off pretty well. I have to say I'm really excited that the Bonding Curve Research Group, I forgot to put this, but the fact that they're opening themselves up to the public now is amazing news, and something that we should very much praise them for. So that's really cool. Outside of that, yeah, I think there's a lot of momentum that we have moving forward, and I think as long as we keep doing what we're doing and making these small improvements each week, I think this is going to be just great. So I'll pass it over to you, Gideon.
Thanks, Nate. Yeah, so I feel like we are rounding a corner. Like there was kind of a tough time that the TC was going into, but this team just stayed focused and, got the first grant round out, and now we're like learning to get better at doing that, and people are starting to pay attention again. And I think it also really, it's so nice having Tam and Livy and Griff and YGG like now engaging at a much deeper level. Like it feels like it's just injecting more life back into the TEC. So that feels really good. And then the other thing I would say is that just having that comms plan, the marketing plan, I think it's been helpful for us to know what to do, so that we're not just like winging it. And I think it's also been really important for us for providing structure to our sprints. So, and it's got the added benefit of providing some accountability too. So I think this is kind of the next phase for us. It's like figuring out how to integrate these kinds of short-term plans with the sprints. And I will pass it back to you, Isaac.
Cool, thanks. I'll just say very shortly that I think we, like, all the signals are there telling us that we are doing something good. And I believe that has a lot to do with the projects we have decided to take on, but also the structure that's slowly forming. And so, I don't know, people in general, like you have, like you said, Gideon, Tam, Libby, YGG, sort of, and others coming back, but also you have great minds like Octopus and Sargam interacting again in our forum, or then I don't know. I've seen even I'm just seeing a lot of attention around us, which is cool. And I think practically speaking, the sprints have done us. The Scrum in general has done us quite good. So really excited about that and looking forward to continue improving every sprint. Okay, now with the second question, what should we stop doing, or what do we think that needs to improve? Again, 10 minutes for the question, 5 for the discussion, and that starts now. Seems like people have run out of ideas. Probably means we are doing quite good. But I'll just wait. I don't know, 30 seconds or something like that. And if there's not anything new, I'll close this question. Okay, so we're done with this one, and I'll just put 1 minute for everyone to have some time to read through them, and then we go to the discussion part. Okay, now let's go to the discussion part. Um, just remember, let's try to think of actionable items from these issues. So, and if you do, feel free to just say them out loud. And um, if you also feel like it, own it so that we can work on it on this sprint. Um, maybe you want to start, Nick, on this one.
Sure. So yeah, I think the one area where I would like to me personally, I think what would be a big priority is getting better at coordinating with other token engineering projects, making sure that we're able to actually communicate with these projects on a consistent basis, and when we do need to communicate or amplify our messaging, that we can reach out to them or help amplify their messaging. This is something I think will help a lot in terms of bringing the token engineering community closer together. There's a couple of ones written here that I'm not sure about. Like I think the big one for me is like the website. The infrastructure that we have is pretty broken. It is pretty. I think that I agree with that. I think we need to focus on getting that back. But however, there's two of them that I think I just wanted clarification: the Web 2 to Web 3 interdisciplinary comment, and the disconnect between TEs and the team. I'm not sure what those two actually mean. So if anybody who wrote those could clarify, that'd be great. But outside of that, I'll pass it on to Bear.
Yeah, thank you, Nate. Yeah, I think overall, I think we're doing pretty good. I think communications, it's still one of our weaker points, but I think there's progress being done there. So I think that's good. Another one that caught my attention was in regards with how to make the community be more involved in the progress that we are having. I think that's important to figure out how. We have the kind of like the impact trackers, but I think that's probably not enough that are being sent like once the funding proposal period ends. That's when we usually send them out, but maybe that's not enough. So trying to think a little bit more about how to improve on that side of things, I think it would be totally worth it. I think the community call, that's also going to help that purpose. So I think there are some interesting ideas floating around. And yeah, I'll just leave it at that, and I'll pass it on to Tam.
Thanks, Bear. Can I also ask whoever wrote what the two can do better posts that Nate mentioned to explain it, especially the yeah, both of them actually. I don't know if it was the same person, but need to think more Web 2. All our work is really interdisciplinary, and Web 3 is only going to take us so far. Does somebody want to elaborate on that?
Sure. Yeah. Those were mine actually. Probably I could have written them better. But I think so. For example, for the first one, the one that's up there, from talking with a few folks and just being in the team, I sometimes feel like there's some sort of intuition of so there's a like there's some opinions about our work and or some expectations from some folks. I don't know, from students in the academy to people working in token related works that I have spoken with, and I feel like we, by the way we work and the things we I don't know how to really explain it, but I think we could do a better job on sort of developing an intuition of what people in the field may want to see and may want to expect. And this doesn't mean that we will become token engineers, but just I think that's something that's going to be really helpful for us. And I even last week I even proposed we maybe even start an informal book club to read some blog posts and stuff that are out there that are really insightful, and just that. And then for the Web 2 one, especially about the grants round, I think like even though this is a discipline that's very focused on Web3 systems, there's the whole stack and the knowledge in a lot of things actually come from not even Web 2, but traditional stuff in general. And so for the grants round, for example, or even for any other thing we may want to work on, I think it's very important that we start to make connections in those in the outside the Web3 world. And I started thinking about that with the non-focus stuff, like scientific component, the scientific computing discipline is really big, and that's something token engineers really rely on. But as long as we keep just thinking of the Web3 bubble, we're going to miss a lot of that, if not all. That's pretty much it.
Cool. Thanks for explaining that. They're super related to each other, actually, these two comments, I think. I like this idea of any type of development, personal development or education, so that anyone who's in Token Engineering Commons has a pathway towards learning more about token engineering and crypto and different the entire breadth of this space. So I think that is a good idea, but we can also, when we need, I think we also have in our community a lot of token engineers that we can help advise in terms of the grants that you mentioned. And then for the Web2 stuff, I'm not sure I fully agree with this. I maybe think that it's super important that we, I don't see this as being in a bubble. I actually see this as a project or a DAO that's super focused on advancing a particular field. So I wouldn't expect the chemical engineering field to be like, we should pay more attention to the electrical engineers, or, so I actually see it as not necessarily burying our head in the sand and ignoring anything that doesn't exist outside of Web3. We have a lot of touch points with Web2. But I think the projects like NumFocus that was funded by the Token Engineering Commons, I think that's a great example of how we have been aware of the tooling that token engineers use are not necessarily just tooling for crypto. So I actually think NumFocus is a good idea. I mean, is a good example of that. Okay, but I didn't mean to go into that. I meant it to be more. I wanted to understand it as well better. I'd say that the things that jump to my mind as what we could do better is, the things that we're already working on. Isaac and I on creating just a simple, very straightforward, easy to execute playbook for Gitcoin grants. So the next time we do it, it's just boom, boom, boom. And then I would say, in terms of the sprint planning process, I think, the trick is, how do we balance autonomy and self-directed work with a larger vision for the organization, so that it doesn't become very dispersive, everyone's working on something else and it's not cohesively working towards the same goals. And then I also saw somebody who would still need to build better project accountability. I think these two are super related too. And I think that's probably where I would see I can help the most in helping build our sprint processes and how we plan our work. We, in our last sprint process, or in our last sprint planning, it was very clear that there wasn't accountability. Like, if everyone is doing a little piece of something, then if that something fails, where's the accountability for it? And not like point finger shame accountability, just like, hey, what can we really do better next time? If there's really one person who's the owner of a project, even if it's 5 people in the team working together to do it, the person that's owning the execution of that project is responsible that all of the pieces work. And so I see that we're missing ownership in how we're approaching our work now during our sprints. And then, well, I don't want to take up too much time. Oh, the comms infrastructure. Yeah, that is probably something that should be addressed. Yeah, I don't want to take up too much time. Overall, I think, if we look at these as the things that we've seen as needs to improve, these are all addressable. So that's pretty positive. I'll pass to Nate, since I think you went. Sorry, I saw that you unmuted after Nancy answered. I'll pass to Bear.
Sorry, I already went, but I can pass it on to Gideon.
Okay, thanks. I'll keep it quick. I echo Tam's comments about accountability. I just think it's so important. We're moving away from hierarchy and kind of like management structures, but we still need some way of holding accountability. So I think that's the next challenge for us. And then building on some of the stuff I think Isaac was touching on, but it's showing up in a number of places. Like we're shifting, like we're shifting from kind of the original like trusted seed profile of the TEC, which is totally awesome, and we need to keep that base because that regen focus is really cool. And I mean, it's just part of what is so attractive about the TEC. And we are now shifting to attract. We're trying to create a clearer signal to a new audience that is actually the core, which is the token engineering student and professional and just like practitioners, people who want to learn, people who want to research, people who want to develop. And so, I think there's a lot of stuff that we've got to do with our comms, but also just ourselves, right? To like learn, like on the forum, you can see my kind of like spastic attempts to learn about conviction voting at a deeper level to be able to have some conversations with Octopus and Targum. It's like putting ourselves out there. We don't have to be professionals, but I think we have to try a little bit more to kind of stretch into this space. It's important. So I'll hand it back to you, Isaac.
Cool. Well, we are almost at the top of the hour. I hope it is fine if we take, we have one question left, and I hope it's fine if people can stay. And if not, feel free to jump off. I think Joseph was left. I'm just going to ask if you have something important, if like a very particular important comment to say about this question, and if not, we can move on to the next one.
Yeah, I was just going to keep it short and sweet with regards to communication to like guarantees and comms and community. Definitely agree with Nate with regards to the website, and also maybe we can also think about like a quarterly, monthly, or even like a grants round pre-newsletter type situation to branch in our reach instead of just like focusing on Twitter. But that's what I was going to say, so I'll pass it back to you.
Cool, thanks. I had some comments, nothing too important, and actually a few of them I think were on the same line of others' comments. So let's use them to the other one. Now start ideas to try, things we may want to work on, things we I don't know, just ideas overall. 10 minutes and then 5 minutes for discussion. Starting now.
I do have another call that's starting now, so I'm gonna have to hop. But thank you, Isaac, and thanks everyone.
Thank you. See you later.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, looks like I don't think there's anyone writing more. I'll wait a few seconds more. If not, I'll close the question. Okay, I'll close this one. Um, let's just take 30 seconds to read through them, and then we can chat. Okay, all right. I'll just quit the timer and we can have an open chat before we go. Um, maybe you want to start now, Joseph?
Um, yeah, I'll keep it very quick. Definitely, I like the note with regards to the community call being like discussed and arranged and things like that. I'll pass it on to Bear.
Thank you, Joseph. Yeah, I will also just keep it short. I think this coming sprint will be a good chance to try out new approaches for this idea of owning projects and accountability. I think it's a good opportunity for us to keep working on that front. And I also really like this idea of kind of like pulling together a proposal in regards with the website. I think we can do something really simple, but that can have a lot of impact with everything we're doing. So I like that. I didn't see who wrote that one, but I like it. And I'll pass it on to Gideon.
Sorry. Yeah. Thanks, Bear. Yeah, that was me actually. I think that we could pretty simply just like do just a replication of the existing website, and it wouldn't take a lot of time to do. But there's some coordination stuff we would have to do with General Magic to make that happen. And yeah, I agree. I think that the accountability thing, I think that's just super important for us. It just makes it makes things so much clearer. And I will stop there, and let's see who has not. Yeah, Isaac. Hey, Joseph, did you go yet?
Yeah, this was
Yeah.
the first one.
Okay, I think that's it.
Okay. Well, so there's a few ones. Of course, the book club. I think we can start with something. Doesn't need to be like super rigid or high frequency. Maybe even once a month we get together, and we can either do it more privately, sort of to keep track and really take care of everyone on the team, or we can open it up a bit more and have people, whoever that wants to join can join. I also think maybe it's about time we take on documentation, like public documentation. The handbook has a lot of information, but a lot of it's outdated. And then as far as documentation, we've always tried to just make um, what's required, so like the grants portal. But as people start to pay attention, they may get confused. So maybe we want to, pour all the documentation in Notion and use that as a main documentation, something like that. I don't know. Um, I also think I have been trying to avoid these as much as I can because I hope that we could try to keep synchronous time as little as possible, but it may be a good idea to have one extra session maybe every 2 weeks. Um, so like on the week of the planning, we have something on Thursdays, and then on the week of that we don't have the planning, we already like I don't know. I won't go into details, but yeah, maybe I send a few messages and see if we can schedule that because I think it's going to be good to have some more time to just chat about projects and general needs with the whole team and an extended group. Um, Let me see what else. Well, the community call. Hopefully I can. I have that for this week on my agenda. So hopefully that can be scheduled soon. And finally, connected to my prior comment on the other question, I think putting, I think focusing on our strategy on, let me see the wording on. So I believe the discipline is applied to blockchain, but the discipline itself is way more than blockchain. So I think we may want to, at the core of our strategy, we may want to think a bit outside of the box of the Web3 stuff. Um, the non-focus thing was carried on by Stargram, and mm, maybe not with non-focus, maybe not in the same shape of a grants program, but those are relationships and the kinds of work that I believe are going to be very important, and we should keep that in mind. Um, yeah, more or less around that. I also agree with the website, like 110%. I see you here, Nate. Want to give a few comments to close this up?
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I would say that just, I think the whole point of this is kind of the like new ideas is to bring uh, token engineering closer together to really kind of solidify what the field looks like right now and what it will be in the future, and just having experts and people who are in the token engineering space to kind of get involved and have some type of empowerment over that, and creating avenues for them to do so. I think there are a lot of really interesting token engineers out there who have really great insight to kind of shape the direction of both like things like education, but also like research and what the future of token engineering looks like. And so I think making sure that we incorporate those voices in some way or fashion into what we're doing here at the TEC is of vital importance for our sustainability and longevity and legitimacy in the space. So, yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Cool. Yeah. Just before we go from, let's see, from these ideas, does anybody feels like owning any of them and putting that on the board? Like I can put that on the board myself, but um, we have identified some things we have to work on. Let's try to work on them. I'll open the floor and see if any comments, and if not, we can go.
Yeah, I was gonna say that it may not be a book club per se, but maybe kind of like a weekly read. I've been talking to Octopus, and he's very interested in like doing something of that nature, where it's kind of having kind of weekly topics of token engineering, or reviewing it, or talking with token engineers. I think that would be a really awesome thing to do. But just parallel things like that, I can continue down that path and see if we can get anything solidified, or a continuous, persistent kind of meeting structure to where token engineers can start participating and listening in.
Cool, great. I just put it down here. I'll later go through the board and add that into Notion. Anyone else? I have here, the community call on that's already assigned to me. Yeah, I don't know. Anyone else? Probably, maybe I see things like the documentation or the website. This I'm working with Sam. So, well, both of these are pretty similar. So probably documentation and the website are things that seem fairly actionable. Um, I guess a clarification doesn't need to, like, I'm just trying to find an owner for these things, but doesn't need to be for this new upcoming sprint.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I don't mind. Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay, Joseph. You can go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, yeah, I don't mind leading the charge with regards to like the documentation.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm also definitely interested in documentation, the handbook, and the website. But yeah, I think it's a matter of for us to plan and to prioritize, right? I don't know if when it's gonna be the right moment to work on this, but are definitely things that I'd be willing to take ownership of.
You cut out there for a sec, Bear. Were you done?
Oh yeah, I don't know. What did you miss? But yeah, I was just saying that I'm willing to participate in both, like documentation, the handbook, and the website.
Gotcha. Yeah, on the website, I'm of two minds. Part of me just wants to let's just do it, but I think that I've built a number of, like, if we were to move to something like WordPress, it's always a little bit more work than it seems, like even just doing something simple. So what I'm wondering is if what we do is just put that into our next proposal as like one of the projects that we're going to undertake, and actually set aside a little bit of money to hire somebody like General Magic to just help with some of that. So that might push it out a little bit, but I think that's actually not that bad. So that's one thing, and I'm happy to pull together some thoughts on that, and maybe, Bear, when we're putting together our proposal, we just add that as one of the pieces.
Yeah, sounds great. I like that.
Okay, cool. I don't, at least from these notes, I don't think there's nothing much we can realistically say. Well, real actionable items. Anyways, I'll read to this later and try to find some other things, plus things that I know that need to get done on this sprint, and put that on the board for tomorrow. And talking about tomorrow, we all know we have the sprint planning for our upcoming round. A few things there. First, the usual. Remember to update the statuses and to just plan a bit ahead work if there's anything that maybe you want to continue doing or that you think it's important to do on this sprint. Please, at least for tomorrow, let's try to come as prepared as possible, because I'm going to set aside a few minutes for YGG to explain or to show the QF tool. This is because he's been doing great progress and he needs feedback from the team to continue, and because we don't have another appropriate meeting to do so, I'm going to try to sneak that in tomorrow. That's partly the reason I think we have to incorporate another meeting, but well, that's kind of the way we have to go about, at least for this week. Let me see. What else? As always, just reach out if you need any help. This week, I'm going to be a bit less present. I don't know. These days, I'm preparing. Doing. I'm fine on Wednesday, so I'm just packaging stuff and buying a few things I need. Before that, so yeah, just for everyone to know. But feel free to reach out. And let's see. I think that's all. Yeah, I think if no one has any other comments, we can close this retrospective, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay, everybody, thanks. Hey, Nate, I'll see you in just a few minutes for that call with Ben.
Sounds good.
Oh, cool. Well, see you later, guys.
Thank you, guys. Take care.